Hit the lights!
You've discovered the Halfwatt Podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. So today I am privileged to talk about Halfwatt Electric. Not Halfwatt the podcast, a Halfwatt Electric. Unbeknownst to me, a friend of mine and a former student, and we got to talking, and we had started Halfwatt podcast, and he had started Halfwatt Electric. We didn't even know it. And Karen?
Yeah, I was walking, I was doing a project on the Mia Hamm building in Nike, and I was walking through the parking lot there, and I was in the middle of thinking about logos and of course you picture lightning bolts,
right?
And you picture stars and sparks, whatever sparks look like when you draw them out. And then I just saw that, bam, there it was, like Halfwatt Podcast. That's kind of ridiculous because we had just registered the name and everything.
You just registered the name, yeah?
Yeah, and we were talking about logos and all that kind of stuff.
And your lovely wife is here, Elba. Say hi.
Yes,
Hi. And you run the business with him?
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, as of now, we're just starting with the company, so I'm not as involved as I would like to because I still have a full-time job. But
she's the producer.
The producer of Halfwatt Electric.
I'm behind the scenes.
Well, what do you do for a living?
I am a deputy director at a nonprofit organization helping immigrants connect to legal and social services.
Excellent. Wow.
Very
what
nice.
a great job. That's cool. I'm glad you do that. That's much more important than Halfwatt Electric. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
You know, that's funny that you say that. So I say that stuff all the time. I'm like, man, you just like jumped right into a job. It's meaningful. You're touching people. You're like, right. Your life's better. Jeez. Well, they declared us like necessary or critical or essential
workers,
right?
yeah.
When they closed everything down, and I was like, well, I mean, yeah, we do life safety, but like this system's not going to be on.
Is it really life safety?
I don't know how that's. Is it really life safety?
With me is my buddy Gage. Gage.
I'm back. I'm back in the studio.
It's back.
It's funny you say that. I actually have a sticker on my hard hat that I bought off Amazon. It's International Brotherhood of Essential Workers. And it's just got like an electrician wearing a gas mask. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, wearing a gritty dust mask. It's all like smeared.
Yeah.
Start making me laugh, man.
Don't do that.
Oh God. So COVID fog for everybody who's listening. I got COVID a couple of weeks ago, and the brain fog is real, and it didn't hit right away. But this week has been like I cannot find my ass with either hand and a GPS. So. It's just been that way. Hopefully I bounce out of it. You've kind of been in a fog for about a decade, Gage. What's it like?
Man, it's... what the hell, Mike?
What did you say? So tell me about Halfwatt Electric.
Life in a fog?
You started this company from scratch. You want to talk about your previous employer?
Like a Point?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, sure.
How long did you work for Point Monitor?
I was with those guys... I guess they recruited
3
me.
years?
No, it was 5.
I think it was about 5.
About 5 and a little over, yeah. Which is longer than I've worked for any company ever in my entire life. Yeah.
That's a good company. I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And their trainings, they did a good job.
They did a good job. Yeah. They nail it for training, I think. So you worked for, and that's where I met you when you were working for Point Monitor. You worked for Point Monitor, and then
finished the whole
apprenticeship thing. Became a journeyman, and journeyed out with him and worked for him for a couple of years. I think 2 more years.
Yeah.
And then you decided, like Dakota, because you're the second person I've had on here who started his own company from scratch, which is why I think this is critical for people to hear. Because so you decided to start Halfwatt Electric, and your wife is helping you. So now tell me about that process. How did you decide to do that, and How's it been? How's your decision? How was it worth it?
Yeah. Well, when you're working for someone else, you're never gonna be working the way you want to be working.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that security of the 40 hours, clock in, clock out. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're like, I don't necessarily like the way that I'm having to be told to do this work. I think that there's maybe a different process that we could do to get this to go faster or to make it better. And not only that, I feel like we're putting in all this effort, elbow grease, and then we're just getting a little piece of it back, and then they take your, all your benefits or whatever it is out of that, and then and it was like, if we're doing this work that we're learning a skill and people need this, then why not be the one charging for it directly instead of,
why not take that profit and you take your good customer service and your customer base, take that profit back, put it back in your own company, right?
Oh yeah.
And then your wife Elba wants to eventually help run more of the company. Oh yeah. And she's already involved with
absolutely
with her own thing. So
she's been involved with pretty much every decision that we make. We all do it coordinated. If I'm gonna put money towards some tool, if I'm gonna have to buy a sump pump. I don't have one of those yet. I just sent you a photo of this earlier today.
So for the listeners, I got a picture today. We talk periodically or text periodically. Well, and talk too. And I got a text today that said, I think I found the ground fault. And it was you looking in a vault. And I could see the reflection.
Yeah, I was waving in the reflection on the water.
Nice.
5 foot of water in it. Yeah, that would be it.
I think I found the problem.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so you got to get a sump pump.
Yeah, so that way, like when I run into that, I would say that's a big, difficult part of starting a company is like, okay, literally what equipment do you need? No one can tell you that. Like, you need to get, today a sump pump because it's becoming the wet season. And I know that I'm going to get, service call after service call, and it's all going to be the same thing I've seen, which is things filled with water,
And you got to gas free it. So you got to get a gas meter.
See, now you're telling me something I don't even know yet.
Yeah,
but it sounds like it's going to save my life.
It is a BW. I would recommend BW, which is a Honeywell product, but they make a good gas meter, and you can get it bump tested and calibrated. That'll set you back a little bit.
Well, so far I haven't jumped into any real vaults. Good. Like I've been standing in things where
It's just the right thing to do. Yeah. And there's a
I would say with it.
If I was going to get a sump pump, I would get a gas powered one because you can move. I've dewatered hundreds of vaults, and that to me was ultimately like
not having to run an extension cord. And it's a 3/4 inch, like most of your sump pumps that you get from Home Depot, or a couple $100, or you can run a garden hose. So it's a 3/4 inch outlet, which takes like a fire hose, or
no, it's a 3/4 inch outlet on an electric pump. So it's like a garden hose output, which takes, as soon as you put one in, you go, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
So if you get like a 250 gallon or 200 gallon per minute gas pump, you just drop the hose in there and pull the cord, start it up, and you'll pump that thing dry and or down to where you're going to need, and you're going to need muck boots.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Or waders, or muck boots and waders. And
you can borrow a pair of my waders.
I had plenty of muck boots.
Well, I was hot, so I thought about just taking a dip.
While
I was working on the electrical, but I decided to go home instead.
You can also rent these pumps. So you can get an agreement with a rental company and rent a pump for, a couple hours.
I'm gonna get one.
Yeah,
get one. I can see. But again, this is one of those things that until you start encountering these problems, you don't know, okay, I'm gonna need one of those, or a generator, or an extension ladder.
Like an A-frame. Because I did backflows, I would open up the vault, drop an A-frame in. If I didn't have to, because I do backflow testing, I would just, if the water wasn't that high, I'd just drop an A-frame in there, gas free. I'd go in there, stand on the A-frame with my muck boots and just test in a foot, 2 foot of water, 3 foot of water. It didn't matter to me.
As long as it's not over the actual
As long as
device.
it's not over the device, yeah. But when you're dealing with a ground fault like this, then the client needs to install a pump.
Yeah.
And when I worked at Western, I did that work for them because a lot of those plugged right into the GFCI in the vault. So I would just go in there, cut like 1.25 PVC, put a check valve in, and drop a sump pump right in there, and then use that sump pump because you can get an electric sump pump that'll have an output of inch and a half to 1.25 inches, and that will move water too. But you got to have power. And if the vault's already gone up and it's tripped the breaker, then you don't have any power, and then you got other problems. So it's like spend some time and figure out what you want. I like gas because it was easy and I could throw it in my van.
I like the standalone idea of that. You don't have to like bring your, because what if the power is 120 feet away?
Right. And then you
Yeah.
and then you got to buy an extension cord for that. To run a high load that far out is $150 because you're going to need a 10 gauge extension cord. Right. So you're like, well, I'm screwed either way here. What the hell am I supposed to do?
Indeed.
All the fun you can have. So, but how have you been doing on drawings and putting in equipment? How's that been working out? Like,
when you're having to choose like software, right? Like you go, it's just another one of those things where you're going, there's Bluebeam, there's Procore, there's Excel, and you can do all this stuff in Excel. You can have a simple graphic design program, and you can like do your drawings. My first set of drawings, and I was using like a $45 like desktop publishing thing on my Mac, and I'm literally like copying, and once I get the line at the perfect angle, I'll just cut and paste and take it over. All of it, like none of this. When you pick up, there's like FireCAD or CAD or any of these things, and like they do all this stuff for you. I'm sitting here trying. But then
you're weighing the cost versus like what you've got available, right? And you don't want to go broke doing this, so you're like, oh my God, how do I?
Oh, it turns out that when you're starting a business, it's extremely easy to spend money. It's so easy. It's
easier to spend it than it is to make it.
Oh my goodness! It seems like there's just people coming out of the woodwork that can help you for a fee. A monthly fee, a licensing fee.
That's crazy, and that stuff adds up.
And you have to pick and choose. Which people are you going to use? Which things can you outsource safely? Like think about just if you're trying to find a bookkeeper. Okay, if you don't know someone, well, who are you about to trust with literally all of the grittiest details of your business?
I could imagine.
You can find an internet bookkeeper. Okay, they might be good, right?
Or they might
be a TikTok star.
Or both.
Right.
Yeah, or both.
Or both. Maybe they're excellent and they're also good at hiding money. You don't know. So
what do you mean you're in the Caymans? What's going on here?
Yeah. With there's Fiverr.com. Is that what it is? When we were designing our business cards and our logo and stuff, we go on Fiverr, and we found a lady that was in Bangladesh, I think, that did Jackie Balboa. Shout out Jackie. I doubt that's her name.
Yeah,
it sounds awfully American.
It sounds awfully American.
Right. Graphic designer, but you never know.
You never know. No, it's like when you're calling on a call tree and you know that you're talking to somebody in India or something like that. It's like, my name is Tom. No, it can't be Tom. It cannot be Tom.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of words and names, but it can't be Tom.
Like the end of Horrible Bosses when they have to use the emergency call, and he gives a obviously super American name. And they're in the middle of like running for their lives, and they're like, "What's your actual name?" And it's like super long,
They're still halfway down the block when he's finished saying it.
We called Comcast one time for a problem. I know you're shocked by that, but we called Comcast for our internet issue, and the lady had chickens So as she's talking to us, and I think it was the Philippines, because I spent a lot of time there. So she had a lot of Tagalog going on, and I could seriously hear chickens in the background. And my mother-in-law was on. I said, "Can you ask her where she's from?" She goes, "Well, I can't really say." I'm like, but it had to be. But yeah, right. and then it happened again. We called her back, and she does customer, and she was a great customer service. I'm like, I don't care. You could be in Thailand or you could be in Malala.
If you're good at what you do, it doesn't really matter at this point.
My co-host Diesel, the German Shepherd, has decided to go on patrol. Hey, you, come here, D.
He's ringing bells.
Diesel.
Where'd you find this guy?
Oh my gosh, we had a dog named Otis because he was from Otis, and we had to put him down. My father-in-law, when he was alive, said, you have to have another German Shepherd. So we went back to the same breeder. And this is one of two that she had. This was the one that was not as active. And he has been probably the best dog I've ever owned in my life. He is absolutely beholden to me. Like where I go, he goes. And when I brought him here one time, and he will not let me leave on a Thursday night to go anywhere at all.
Yeah.
Like he seriously, as I open up the front door, he's already out. There's no stopping him. He weighs 90 or 100 pounds, so it's not like I'm going to stop him anyway. So all the guests have met him, and you know.
Well, it's like when you get a dog, they tell you that you want to keep it with you to bond it with you. But what they don't tell you,
Gage.
in parentheses, there you go. Is that why he never leaves your side?
Never leaves my side. He's
I
always
sleep in
on
his
my
barn.
But what they don't tell you is that it's a two-way street, man. That you're bonding to them too,
Yeah.
and you're going to be in trouble as soon as they're, you leave and they're throwing themselves against the door, and you're like, I never want to leave my house again. We've been traveling a couple times since we got our most recent dog, Lily, and like, I don't even want to travel anymore. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a little Yorkshire Terrier.
Yeah.
Not that little though.
Yeah. She's a giant Yorkshire Terrier.
Giant Yorkshire Terrier.
She's like 12 or 13 pounds. Like she ate her brother in the womb or something.
This is. So we had one we had to put down a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of sad. And this is, I want to say her replacement, but her replacement. That right there. The pug.
There you go.
That is Carl, named by, and then the other one is our foster failure. But that's him right there. So, and then Bella is the foster failure. We have 6 dogs. No one comes near our house. No one, and we have like 12 cars parked in the yard. So they're like, whatever's going on there.
Are you pimping out your rides?
Pimping my rides, yo.
12 low riding, ground lights.
I think he got a pug just so he could like gaslight his wife. Just
my God.
I don't snore. It's the dog.
It's the dog. He's actually.
He's playing the long game.
We had a Chihuahua, and we had 2 Chihuahuas, the brother and sister, and the sister died before really unexpectedly. We had to put her down, and
You're really.
we have a lot. We've got through a lot. We had a dog daycare. That was my small business I owned, was a dog daycare.
Oh, sure.
And so we had this opportunity to buy this pug, and my granddaughter took my granddaughter, and I said, jump in there and figure out which one you want. She picked Carl, named him Carl on the way up, and man, has he been a lot of fun. And he's really super bright too. Like, it's already figured out where to go to the bathroom, and it's not on the carpet. So I don't know. And he's a snuggle bunny, which the Chihuahuas were like, I'm not snuggling with you. You suck.
Really?
Yeah, one of them was pretty snuggly, but the girl was like, no, I'm kind of standoffish. And although she was really cute. So.
I feel you on the not traveling thing. I have 2 border collies, and that's how my wife is. She's like, if we can't take the dogs, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I feel that way, but I also love my grandparents.
Can't we just start accessorizing our dog?
Right.
Just wear it around your neck or something, and just.
And I'm like, bye.
Yeah, right. Or going to Puerto Rico, going to Mexico. He's the one that gets to travel.
Oh, so do you get to travel for your job, or
No, for
you
fun.
just get to travel for fun?
I'm going to go celebrate my 40th birthday with my girlfriends.
Where at?
Puerto Rico.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Is that your accent? Puerto Rican?
No, Guatemalan. I'm
Oh, okay.
originally from Guatemala.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had an aunt that was from there, so that was cool. They were my grand aunt, but was my grandfather's brother served in Guatemala throughout World War II and Panama, and I was like, wow. And then so he married a woman who's Guatemalan, and they lived in Los Angeles for like 50 years. Yeah, so yeah, it's cool.
Beautiful country.
Is it?
Oh yes.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
It's got the Mayan history.
Oh yeah.
And it's
No
got
kidding.
like the Jaguar Temple. It's one of the most famous pyramids.
So you've been there and checked it out? No kidding?
We originally went down there, and we took the whole family on a road trip up to Tikal, which is like, one of the largest cities of the Mayan Empire. And it's strange too, because when you're walking around, you see all these like kind of gently rounded hills, jungle, but you're like, that kind of looks like a pyramid. That kind of looks like a pyramid. And then as you go and you're learning more about it, you're like, actually from LiDAR photographs that they've taken in recent years, they're like, that is a pyramid.
Right.
Isn't that
That is a
bizarre?
pyramid, yeah.
And the
And
measurements
forest
on
just
these
takes it over.
pyramids and how they
orient
them
stars
is
into-
incredible.
Yeah.
Like the main
Look at-
pyramid in Egypt is incredibly accurate.
Right,
Like,
with its orientation.
with its
Yeah.
orientation.
Yeah.
It's like
Holy cow.
It's
That's
within
awesome.
an
Looking at a
inch,
picture, holy cow.
perfectly square within an inch, and it's ginormous.
Yeah. And how many thousands of years ago did they make
So
it?
sweet.
I was always
and how did they
picturing
do
that.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
They have hundreds of them too.
That's really?
Yeah. And if you sent like 200, technicians out, and you said, I want you to make these square perfectly.
No, it wouldn't happen.
Not a chance.
It wouldn't, not a chance in hell.
What do you think that pyramid would look like when it was finished?
I saw somebody try to move a block that they would use in the Egyptian pyramid with like heavy equipment, and it was just a joke. It was a joke. Yeah, it was just like there was just no way. And then you go somewhere else on the web. It's like, oh well, you can do it with a couple of logs and a rope and 50 people. I'm like, really? You can't do it with an excavator or a crane, but you can do it with 50 people and
Have you?
and a couple
Or you
of
watch the
logs.
riggers that are putting up these uneven loads, and like how crazy that is. You're like, okay, that's not a 6,000 pound
Yeah, yeah.
obelisk.
Right.
It's like crazy, man. Yeah, there's so many unanswered things, and that's a classic example.
Yeah. Do you wonder about, like, I don't know, electricity? They knew about lightning. They knew about metal. I mean, if you have, I don't know, why electricity only now? Or do you think maybe ancient technology may be lost?
It's a hard call, and I don't want to take the podcast into some
Why not?
spooky crap, but I'm telling you that
It's a
if you
natural
look at
phenomenon.
some of the artwork that follows the pyramids in Central America and
I know I
in
meant Central. I've been bugging myself the last 20 seconds. I was like,
That's
Central
okay.
America.
What did you say?
South America.
Oh, yeah.
But some of the drawings show like spacecraft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, what the hell is going on? Mm-hmm. And I can very easily be dropped down that rabbit hole. So these guys know already.
Man,
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut you off.
no, there was
Cutting
that.
Mike out.
You've had
Did you
enough
see
water.
the Netflix The Ancient Apocalypse?
Not yet.
Oh my
Is it
God.
good?
I want to.
Well, I mean, he's got a whole theory. You could watch it to find out what his theory is, and it's entertaining and interesting. And the fact that they make computer projections of like what these sites would look like where they are is pretty amazing. But the thing that's most intriguing to me is that we know, whether you believe any of his theories or not, we know that at the end of the last ice age, the sea level rose like 40 feet or whatever.
Right.
And so, and 95% of the population lives on the coast. So if you raise that water 40 feet, like you're burying just about every city on the globe under 40 feet of water. And
Yeah.
How'd that work? Yeah. What happened?
where are those?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of mysteries. I look at it this way. We just had our first conversation with a whale. They had a 20-minute conversation with a whale, a humpback whale. I truly had a conversation, and it got pissed and left. It was like,
No
what is this, a
sugar for the
voicemail?
tea.
No, it was they talked back and forth. They did actual language. They actually communicated with it, and it got frustrated because it was saying things, and it was taking the scientists a while because they had to piece together the sounds.
And he left.
And he was just like,
I'm out of here.
He flipped him the flipper and left. He was like, I'm out of here. It's really the first time that they've had a communication with. Now they have taught primates to communicate via sign language, and they can do that, and they can learn our language and talk. And that is not. I'm not saying that animals can't be taught to communicate, because they can. I mean, my dog can communicate. I can't speak dog, but he knows, all the commands I give him.
You have a certain dialogue,
exactly.
language together.
But that is them learning our language. It's not us learning theirs. And we can read body language and stuff like that, but we're really not communicating. And so this conversation with a whale was the first conversation they've had with another species that they knew really happened. It's just, like I said, this just happened a few months ago. So, we've yet to really break in and talk to a primate in the primate's language, which is the closest genetically to us that you can have. Would I think is rhesus monkey or chimpanzee or something. Bongo the ape.
Chimps, right?
But they can learn our language and speak to us, but we still have not. Meanwhile, we're deforesting the Amazon and killing species as fast as we possibly can, so that we can raise cows or some crap. It's just like, it's crazy, man. I'm like, wait, we cannot. We're sort of on a trajectory that makes it very difficult for us to kind of, sit back and realize, hey, look. There are other animals on this rock in space besides you and your car, you know what I'm saying? And your other car and your Hummer. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. And so to me, the fact that people thousands of years ago obviously knew enough to build a pyramid and align it within a half a degree of accuracy, and the thing is gargantuan. We're probably missing something.
If you put someone in the field today and said, I want this to go perfectly north,
right, without a laser, without the tools,
let alone like 42.3 degrees where Sirius is going to rise like on the horizon.
My guest bedroom isn't within an inch square.
Yeah.
And they built an entire pyramid within
the Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar is accurate to 1,000 years or something. It's crazy accurate. Right. It's like, okay, we clearly had something happen.
We're doing some rounding.
We're still doing rounding.
We said Joe Rogan, his name before the podcast, and I think Mike was just like, yes, that's what we're gonna do today. Thank you, Tyler.
I can hear Tyler cackling from outside, my producer.
With that being said,
fine.
Between the different types of low voltage, what would you say you do more? What's your favorite?
What would you say you do here at Editech?
Yeah.
Office space.
Great movie.
Yeah. Fire alarm systems. I was lucky to be starting to be trained on fire alarm systems with Point Monitor, and just been continuing with it. At some point, I went over and jumped over to the union, and that was kind of like, that was sort of a no-brainer. I was taking 12 weeks off during the when the lockdowns first happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, I don't know, I must have had some time to think.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because then I walked out one day and there was a sticker on the car from the IBW that said you could be making whatever, 35 an hour or whatever it was at the time. And I was like, well, that's just one conversation and it's like a $5 bonus or whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So it was kind of a no-brainer, and joining the union was great, and I've got to jump around to some of these larger projects. I was a foreman on Intel for a little while, and I was a foreman at Nike for a little while.
Oh, nice.
Doing fire alarm systems on both, and just learning a ton.
Oh yeah.
Those Intel,
That EST system there is jaw-droppingly big and very complex.
And the low voltage guys there, like QPS, those guys over there, like it's a whole nother ball
It's next
game,
level.
like, yeah. So you really gotta up your game.
Well, the EST system, you'll find it at the Pentagon and small places like, I don't know, Oregon Convention Center.
Just don't add 6 centimeters of copper to it.
Yeah, just don't change the wiring. So for kids, if you don't know, the EST system, the 3 anyway, will map itself out. So it maps all the devices, and if you star configure the devices, it remaps differently and causes a trouble. And I think the 4 they took care of that, but the 3 is like something's changed. And most of the DST techs go, you just connect to it and say, shut up, accept the map, and move on with your life. But it bothers some people, However, I went to a system before I left PSI that had been running continuously for 11 years. I mean, continuously. They may have restarted the CPU, but they didn't do anything to it. And it flat operated non-stop for 11 years. Now, I don't know too many damn systems that'll run my stuff. I have to 3-finger salute every other day. So, honest to God. Hold on, I'll fix this problem. Reboots. Okay. I was a toaster oven for about 10 minutes, and now I'm good. But yeah.
Are you enjoying what you are doing with Half-Watt Electric, and do you see yourself really getting into it in the future as you guys grow? And
Yes. I think the decision that we made about having a company of our own was 100% accurate. And I've been enjoying it because since COVID, when he was out of work for a few months, I love having him home.
Right.
And that's how it is right now. When he goes to work for less hours than he would be if he was with a company. And I just love having him home and also making a little extra money, with less hours
working
to
for
work.
us,
Yeah, and the money's going right to you guys.
Yeah.
And just the fact that we have a family-owned, women-owned, minority-owned company, it's amazing, and it's something that we both are building for our family, and it's nice. It feels nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good.
So,
No.
I was going to say, where do you get most of your jobs? Are you doing a lot of service and then getting some install work afterwards, or?
Yeah, it started out with a lot of cold calling.
Nice.
Just telling people that I existed. I bought a book called Cold Calling 101.
Nice.
Yeah. And just started applying it and reaching out to every company. I had this conversation with you, I think. I came to Mike when I was just hanging out my
I think
shingles.
just put your shingle out.
Absolutely. Because we started the company actually in 2019, but we weren't actually working on it. It was just on paper. And then so April of last year, jumped into it full time. And so, yeah. Was there a question involved with that?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you pretty much answered it. Just like, are you pushing for service
where
work?
Where the job's coming from? Yeah. So you're basically just trying to get yourself known with everybody that you can, and then with the service companies, they need people that can come out today, like later today, or can schedule stuff fast. And that's where like a new company can come in and be a lot faster. If you call one of these other more established ones, they're like, yeah, we could be out in 5 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, we could be out in,
That's
and
a good way to say it.
Yeah. And so you just say, okay, well, I'll be out there on Thursday. That's something that we can have, as a small company. And, I think it would be ideal, when you talk about that work-life balance, because you spend a certain amount of time, like every job you're in the field working it. And but then the time at home, which working from our home office,
right,
that's all of the sales, all of the bookkeeping, all of the any management that you're at home. And I feel like that would be, I think like maybe everybody should just start their own business.
Yeah.
And like maybe no more big businesses. Like we're all just like a one-man shop.
Yeah.
And if you got a bigger job, maybe 10 one-man shops get together.
I will tell you that in watching the conglomerates, I can't put it any other way. Is that the right word? Conglomerates would be the right way to put it.
Right, a group of companies.
Yeah, the big companies that are pushing,
the huge multinational,
where they're pushing
guys.
all these things together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it's necessarily been advantageous. I've worked for them, that have been buying small companies and piecing together these things. It changes the culture, and it changes the way that your services run, the way that your employees look at the way they work. And I'd love to say that there hasn't been blowback, but I have talked to technicians that were formerly my employees and have changed companies and go from one company to the next, and they say it's just they've lost this culture of a small dynamic team that was responsive and quick.
Yeah.
And so you're not too far off the mark by saying, hey, I think that, it would be nice for people to, if I call for service, get it that day or get it that week, and not be told, gosh, gee, we can be there in May, which is bad squeeze, honestly. You can't have a trouble sitting on a fire panel for 4 weeks while you unscrew your head over here to figure out what's next. And that's what's going on. And it literally is a problem. And so I don't disagree with what you're saying. Small businesses can do things that large businesses just can't. And there are things large businesses can do that, small businesses can't as well.
Yeah, if you want to build a stadium, it helps to
Right. Helps to
be gigantic.
I think that the difference in big businesses and small businesses are that the small businesses, because they care so much about their company and their service, they care about the service that they're providing. And the big companies, because they're so disconnected from the employees and maybe mistreating them in a way, not mistreating them directly,
Just
but
using them like a kind of like chess pieces.
Yeah, so that makes employees not care about what they're doing, which makes the bigger companies look bad.
I don't disagree with that.
Absolutely.
That's a really good analysis. Yeah, and it starts to show.
Yeah.
It really does start to show, and it's in our industry. In my experiences and because I talk to every apprentice that goes through the system, and I have for over a decade now, there's been a decline in satisfaction that I can only attribute to merging and making these small companies bigger. I mean, that's just
dissatisfaction just with apprentices and the people that they're working with.
Dissatisfaction with the company not giving a shit about them.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah.
Because they're coming off going, look, the most important thing is get dollars through the door. That's the most important thing. You're doing this to get dollars through the door.
And you're charging for a journeyman, and you're sending this guy, and you don't really care about this guy.
Or you in order for you to keep your doors open, you have to, anytime you roll the vehicle out, you're going to have to pull a minimum of X amount of dollars in. So if I stack up 5 service calls on you, and I expect you to get those 5 service calls, all I'm seeing is, did you get those 5 service calls done? But what if the guy goes out and the first service call takes 8 hours?
Yeah.
Because the client needs the thing up, but now the technician has got 4 more calls. And so he's got to, you at that point now you're fixing the client and saying, look, I'll come back. And I've done that. I've been in those positions where it's legit. I'm out there working. The client, I can't fix the client. I said, look, I've got 2 other important calls I've got to go to. But in most companies, there was a workaround. Hey, I could either get another technician to take my other call, or I could send another technician here, or I could double back after my 2 calls. That flexibility for the technician, gone.
Yeah. Now he's got to do it.
Now it's corporatocracy saying, you had 2 hours, you didn't get the job done, we'll schedule you a week from now, and you may not be the guy that goes back. Okay, well, how is that customer service?
Yeah, now you're working with robots. There's no customer relationship there.
I always taught and I always felt like the technicians that worked for me, I had to be a team. And so I didn't look at myself as a manager. I looked at myself as a coach. And so I'm looking at the players and I'm saying, okay, this guy's never worked on this equipment. This person's never worked on that equipment. I need to get you exposed to it, get you the right tools, get you used to this client, this equipment, this setup. And then in the back of my head, I think, okay, Gage can handle this type of equipment. If I have another breakdown like that, he's at least has some knowledge. So now I have two people who can go out and handle it.
Yeah.
Then this problem comes up again. I can send a third person out there. I know this person can work on this brand. This could work, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This client doesn't like this particular technician. I don't want to send that guy out there. That's what the coach does. The coach is on top of who I can send where, when, and how. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what do I need to get you to your strengths? And how do I play to those strengths? And what tools do you need?
And what do you want to do too? That's a big one too, you know.
Yeah.
Because the guy's his strength is pulling wire, and maybe he wants to program. You know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you have
Exactly.
to, you know, I always pictured having a company as being like just a core of five people, which I don't know why I like that number, but it seems to recur in management. You know. But wouldn't it be great to just have 5 guys who are the best at what they do? And then delegate, allow as much power down that chain of delegation as possible, so that the guy the lowest down has as much room to make decisions as possible. And
I
then
like that.
you know, between your, you know, you got five guys that are just that are mavens and know what they're doing and are super good at it. Then from there, you know, by empowering the people that are working under those guys and empowering them to, you know, to be flexible with their guys as well. I just like, wouldn't it be that's the crack team? That's the A team. That's what everybody
exactly
wants.
it,
You know? You got your Hannibal, your BA. You know.
So we looked at that for inspections, because I thought when I was doing his inspections for Simplex at hospitals, I thought, man, if I could just get 4 guys who are really good at inspecting. And they didn't, you know, and if we were going to hit a hospital, we would hit that hospital on the hours that they wanted us to be there, the way they wanted us to do the work, the way that they wanted their documentation for DNV or for the Joint Commission, and hit all these things. Then we could break up that contract and literally pay everybody, you know, a good amount of money. And if you had like 7 hospitals, you would be making bank, and your product would be superior, and you would be the same cat going to the same place every time, so that the hospital, because the biggest thing in working for one is I know I've got somebody who knows how to get keys, how to get badges, how to get access, who to talk, what manager to talk to in surgery when you got to go in there, where do you gown down at? You know, I don't have to show you anything, you know it all. And when I was doing hospitals, I did, you know, all the legacy facilities and one of the Providence facilities and 2 down the Corge and, you know, 1 in McMinnville. So I had all this knowledge base, and I thought, man, if I just had the gumption, I could go create a company to do just inspections and be good at it. And now, being 25 years later in the game, if I had the money and the time, I would do fire smoke damper inspections. Honest to God, there's a business in that. And that no one's picking up the ball on. And if I swear to God, somebody out there is going to either
fire smoke
dampers. Yep, fire smoke dampers are
what they have to be tested.
Have to be tested, certified, replaced. It takes a special license because, you know, it's not a low voltage thing. But
how many addendums do you have to get before you can do business in this industry?
You know, I'm just saying
not
that
as much as you would think.
Not as much as you would think.
You do. You need to have you have business license. You have to have bond. You have to have like
Oh,
your
I thought
CLA.
you meant
and then
specifically
your
with
contractor's
the inspection.
license. Yeah, I see what you
like
mean.
you have your
Yeah.
CLA addendum. You got like you got your fire extinguisher certification or what do they call
fitness
it? Fitness.
And,
Yeah. Like,
so I mean, I know that it's crazy, but as like I tell my students, you know, there's going to be a group of students who start testing smoke dampers and become good at it. Do power over Ethernet LED lighting. That's another big one. LED lighting, power over Ethernet LED lighting is huge.
We've been working on that. You know, we've been developing relationships with distributors or you know, manufacturers of smart lighting, man.
That's it.
And
It's
I've
getting
been
big.
in contact with Dave as well,
Yeah.
Gilson, about that, because I know it's his, it's almost a pet project for him to get that all over the world.
It is.
But yeah, it is.
And he's made a lot of, and he's made
about.
good money doing what he does. And he's been running his own show for years. So he's on it, I think.
Well, I mean, how do you convince, because electricians do lighting, so how do you convince the client or the customer that don't go with the high voltage guy? Because he's not going to like that either.
He's not.
Yeah.
Sparky does not want people
Yeah.
coming talking about smart lighting.
Right.
Because that's just taking away his guys who are no longer going to be pulling that wire, no longer going to be, they put in the power supply and then they're done. That's 2 hours for a Sparky, and
2 hours for a high voltage guy, and then low voltage work after that. Here's the takeaway. A, I'm not putting 277 in my ceiling, so the fire hazard's down. B, I'm using less energy and getting the same power lumens, the same amount of light, and I got smart lighting. So you're saving electricity, and we're seeing the loads go down on electrical systems, period. Because
more of this is being installed.
Because more LED lighting is being installed. And so, like I told my students, I said, the last time I did my continuing ed, they have just approved 10 amp breakers for your bedrooms at home. So, how 15 amp is the standard breaker.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 if you have a higher load.
15,
10
20.
amps, 10 amp breakers, and they'll go down below that because everything is running so efficiently now. So that's a big deal. Like you can see the trend. So it may not be this year, but if we could do Li-Fi, if I'm moving a Li-Fi signal off of LED lights, and I'm pointing at them over your wife's shoulder, then you could not have Wi-Fi, which goes through the walls and some jerk down the street can use it. You could just have light handling the data, which is the next generation. Plus, it's got a higher bandwidth, so it moves more throughput. Now, yes, your phone has to be, with the light.
It has to
but
be.
If every light in your house is sending out Li-Fi, then
See, I don't know about Li-Fi. So
Li-Fi is the next.
pretty cool.
It's
Me
coming.
either.
well, good. This is what we're here for.
Yeah. So
So-
because light is visible light, and it can be an infrared component. It doesn't have to be visible because
But it has to be
you would
line of
never
sight.
see it. But it has to be line of sight. Yeah, because it can't bend corners. But that's where the future is going.
Oh yeah. So now it's trying. How do you get developers to start seeing that advantage? And how do you, how do you convince an electrician to give half of his job away? Because
Right.
what's, if an electrician's putting in the panel, the lights, the outlets, well, now he's not putting in the lights.
Right.
Now he doesn't
Right.
need as many
Right.
outlets. So he's, trying to convince the electricians that this is in their favor. Well, it doesn't seem like it is.
It's not. And I
Seems
hate to
like
be a jerk about it, but it's just not. The writing's on the
words
wall.
of the prophet are written on
The words
so-
on the see. I was going to ask you
mean-
about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, with that being said, most of that would be like somebody's retrofitting, and you're trying to get in there in the beginning to do it, and then you sub the high voltage guy.
Right,
Which is
they're
true.
going to be our
Yeah.
subs, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at LEED, so platinum
We do
LEED
it all the
buildings
time.
and gold buildings, right, that have our super energy efficient, the LEED
Right, the LEED.
programs, there's no reason not to have that in housing. There's no reason not to have it in housing because you can now have builders that build super tight houses, so tight in fact that you have to vent them because to make sure that you don't build up carbon monoxide and dioxide. So they can be very efficient, low energy, so the fire hazard's down. So if we're just following the trend forward, if I have one outlet, and I know that the code dictates something different, but
Right.
if I have USB outlets where I have my power outlets, I wouldn't use any transformers. I would just plug it straight into the USB. How much of your stuff is going to be plugged into USB-C since that's going to be the standard?
think it's going to be the standard.
Yeah, absolutely
I hope
it
to
is.
God.
That'd be sweet.
God, I hope they don't change it anymore. I'd be but yeah,
They're just going to add a little like bump off one side.
something make it different. So tell me about your music. I didn't realize you were a musician.
Yeah. I studied music my whole life. I was raised, or I went to undergrad doing classical music and composing and all of that good stuff. I know
no
you always
idea.
talk about the various routes into low voltage. that
Yeah,
there are.
this was it, huh?
Yeah. So for me, I was kind of, I was noticing like I would find period when I first moved to Portland, I was temping a lot. So I was doing a lot of data entry, and I would spend periods out of work, 3 months here and then a few months out of work. And I was noticing that I'd spend, I'd go into my basement where I had a little workbench, and I'd spend 8 hours, 10 hours, like just putting together circuits. I like to build little things that go bleep and bloop. I built a sine wave oscillator. I built something called an Atari Punk console. It's like you use two 555 timer chips, and then somehow they create. It sounds a lot like an Atari 2600.
Yeah.
It just makes really great kind of crazy.
Get two different pulse rates,
Nice.
and you can
and it
heterodyne them,
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, you heterodyne them.
mix them,
Whatever that means.
mix them, put them together.
Yeah, you put them together. And but when I realized that I just love watching electricity flow from point A to point B, and like you can get it to do something for you, and you can get it to make beautiful sounds or ugly sounds. And then I also got into circuit bending for the music as well, where I would buy like one of those little Hallmark card pianos that goes do 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 do. That top pitch is always really wavy. And then you can turn that over. You can find two little nodes on the back where there's solder, and you can run a potentiometer between them, or you can sometimes just touch with your fingers, and all the sound generator stuff just starts going squelchy and just really bizarre. So I was getting into that, and I said, well, I want to build circuits. I love building circuits, so I want to do that for a living. And then when I learned about the low voltage trade, and I was like, well, that is like, if someone's going to get paid to build circuits, a fire alarm system is the circuit.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't fit in a box; it fits in a building, but it's the same thing. You have your relays, you have everything's. It has to flow perfectly from beginning to end, and if there's any mistakes, you will know, and it won't work. And so kind of putting all that stuff together, that's how I got in. Like, how do you get to be a professional circuit builder? Well, that's one way. You can get an engineering degree and start building, and then you're into the patent world, and that's kind of insane too. Like, if you read a bit about Dyson, and like his, like, patents is not something that you just get into lightly. Yeah. And so, I just wanted to be a professional circuit builder, and like that's how when I showed up and I met Mark at Point Monterey, I just showed him my 555, my Atari Punk console. I was like, and he was like, okay, that's kind of cool. You'd probably be good at this.
Yeah, it'd probably be right up your alley.
Yeah.
Going for that Tom Morello sound, like the Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. And some of the that's a
grindy
good point.
stuff. Yeah, sure. Why not?
I love
So
that.
so you were trained classically. Do you play several instruments? Or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Flutes. I was trained on flute as a classical flutist, and I was taking lessons since like the 3rd grade. There's some advice for anybody out there: get your kid private lessons as soon as they start.
Really?
And then make them practice.
Make them practice.
Yeah, it'll pay off in the long run. But yeah, and then I ended up going to get my master's degree at Cal Arts in Los Angeles, north of LA. And when I was doing that, I was getting all into building electronic musical devices, like virtually, sine wave oscillators, controlling the pitch from an LFO.
Do you build stuff with chips or with just older solid state circuitry?
Old solid state
Man, I've got a
circuitry.
whole bunch of that for you. You've got to come see me in Wilsonville because I got stuff I
Okay.
honestly took from my home when I moved and put it there for I have no idea why. I've got capacitors, I got variable caps that are the size of your fist, all kind of old stuff that came out of radios,
Yeah.
coils, stuff like that really was meant for the radio industry, and books that I don't need.
Huh.
And so they're yours. You just got to
I
come
wanna
claim
come
them. And I
take a
mean,
look. That
I got
sounds
a
fun.
couple of books on circuits. I got one that's probably that thick.
Yeah.
That is yours. It's
Wow.
yours
Like
whenever
every
you
kind
want
of
it.
circuit you could ever
Dude,
need.
and several electronic parts for radios. That the whole thing is yours. I give it to you right now. It's
Part
in
of me
public.
just wants to build a radio
Okay.
and just like start broadcasting
Eh,
just the way that we're
Pirate radio.
podcasting right
Yeah,
now. But
yeah.
like, don't you just want to have like be broadcasting whatever you do like over all
Over
the
FM?
frequencies are free, you know? It just it's out there, you know. Something beautiful about that.
Brainwash.
subconsciously. Yeah, make everybody subconsciously
It's
in the neighborhood
subconscious,
going,
yeah.
you know, I think we should hire Half Watt Electric. I don't know why.
And this is an original thought.
That's
thing.
good. This is
That's funny.
this original thought brought to you by Half Watt Electric.
Yeah.
Need anything smart today?
I did have a student the other day who came. Those Air Spy radios are USB powered radios. They're about this big, little tiny things.
Air Spy.
It's an actual high frequency receiver, and it goes down to the VHF range as well. And you just plug it in your computer. So your computer does most of the heavy lifting. This is just the interfacing piece to it. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask another question going back to the Half Watt Electric. Have you started or have you thought about doing sub work for other big low voltage companies that are just willing to? I mean, because a lot of them are. I've seen a couple of companies like pay, one man or small low volt companies
Like
to,
subbing out to small. I haven't met any low voltage companies that want to hire another low voltage company. I feel like the main people that we want to work with are electrical contractors,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they'll bid the whole electrical package, high, low voltage,
right.
and for whatever project, even not having any idea who the fire alarm person's going to be or what the security system's going to look like, and so that's like who, we need to make friends with is electrical contractors, and trying to find other low voltage that want to hire low voltage. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Are you guys
Another low voltage that has too much work.
No, right.
I was
That
gonna
would
say.
be the key.
like you guys licensed, bonded, and insured?
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah,
Okay.
fully licensed, bonded, insured.
I'll talk to you after the podcast.
Okay. We're also ESP certified. We're an emerging small business, which is a COBID certification, not COVID-19, but COBID,
Right.
which is for women and minority-owned businesses to, they talk to larger contractors. Say 20% of this project is supposed to be by minority and talent, and so if you can put together a team of like you kind of want to be the extension of that company. Like we'll do your fire alarm and we'll count towards your total COBID rating.
Right.
And when they have that certain number of companies that are doing that, then they have financial incentives to do so.
So we have one of our electrical contractors I work with up on the hill. One of their electricians started her own company, and then they hired her back, and so she helps do the minority piece for them.
Yeah.
So and we canceled one of our coffee contracts where I work at, and hired a woman-owned, minority-owned business to get coffee from, and that's good coffee.
There
So
you
I mean,
go.
we as in the hill. I mean, that's also it's very important that X
Yeah.
amount of our contracts are handled by. So like our abatement folks, the folks who do the asbestos abatement, it's a minority-owned company, and I'm super thrilled because I want that. Otherwise, it's the same. the same
Yeah.
major contractors doing work, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then they're hiring out these subs to do
Yeah.
parts of it, and then they become familiar with our policies and all that stuff.
Yeah, kind of what we want when we go back to that sort of that dream team of 5 guys. If you could step back from that and be like, we want 5 companies that like really specialize in what they do. If they're all COVID certified, then you've got like this team.
Yeah.
And you can approach the larger contractors and say, this is going to be our team, and just by hiring us, your COVID certificate or your COVID is covered.
Nice.
So that would be nice to get to that.
Yeah, that's a stroke of genius on your part. And you got your nice at 3, correct? So you're nice at 3 quals. So you've got the ability to draw and awesome.
I don't know if I have the ability to draw. I have
Well,
the right.
Says you do. Says you do
Working
on
it.
paper.
Yeah.
That's
Indeed.
great. It just seems like you really. I love the fact that both you and Dakota have come on and kind of shared because he was pretty upfront and honest how it's tough to get going. It's tough to start your own business.
He's been real helpful to me. Shout out Dakota. You've been super helpful.
He and I've talked because he and I talk probably as often as you and I do, if not more. And he'll say, yeah, there's times when I just can't get to something. So he's got at least two contractors that reach out to him when they can't get to a call, and that spills over to him. And if he can't get to a call, he gives it to you. Yeah, and so the relationship there between him and the former companies he's worked for, and probably the same thing with you, is critical.
Yeah. He had a situation, not to speak out of turn for him, but where he had a good relationship, and so when he parted his company, it was like, well, we still need someone to do this work, and so can you? And I can't imagine any of the companies I work for and going back and be like, I'm working on my own. You want to give me some of your work? And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know.
But you never know. It certainly doesn't hurt.
It's true.
You never know. You should probably reach out to some of these bigger companies because I know of one.
You have to reach out to all of them. To be honest, you have to reach out to
Yeah.
all of them. Yeah, cold calling is like a pretty important skill. You got to learn it. You got to learn how to like just put yourself out there and be like, you don't know me, but you're gonna,
Yeah.
now you do.
Someday
Anytime
you
you're
will.
cold calling someone, you have to remember that like you're literally asking them to stop whatever that they were doing, which was probably the most important thing to them at that moment. That's why they were doing it.
Yeah.
And you're telling them to stop doing that important thing and now and now focus on me. So but you have to recognize that that's what you're doing. You do want them. If I go down to downtown, and I want to put myself out there, I want everybody to stop and be like, hello, everybody, this is me. I want you to stop. But you have to accept that you're bothering them. You're stopping them from doing whatever they thought was the most important thing at that moment. And you have to accept that, like, this is what we're doing.
Self-awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You gotta hold the head on your shoulders, man. You really do. That's a good way to look at it. And your wife is now. You tell us again exactly what you do in your company. You're the
I'm deputy director.
the deputy director.
Yeah.
So you've also got a lot of business experience if you're at that level.
Administrative experience,
Yeah.
yes. And now I think that's going to help me with our company, but I don't know when exactly.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, which is fine.
I'm
a very young
helping already because we, like he said, we're a team and we're working together. But as of now, I cannot just say bye to my job, and also because I love it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason. There's no reason if you can,
Yeah.
part-time help him out and still
Yes.
do a gig, then
Yeah,
and it pays the bills.
And you have to.
that would
you
be
have to.
the best.
If we could all just quit everything we're doing and just start doing what we want to do,
Yeah.
that would be nice.
I'd
Yeah.
sleep here.
Yeah, right?
Or
I see you
physics.
got some guitars out there. You'd probably be playing a lot of
Oh,
music,
yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm just super proud of you guys. I really am. I just want
thank
to
you
say
so
that.
much,
I've enjoyed watching both you and Dakota. You haven't tucked your tails and run back to either company and said I tried this, it didn't work out. So it's obviously you're moving forward, and that's the key.
Yeah. A little self-determination.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things we were talking about was that with a smaller company, you can be a little more personalized. It's not it's nice that the big companies can advertise. It's nice that the big companies have the dollars to do that. But you can actually personalize and work with a client, correct?
Yeah.
In maybe in a different way.
Yeah. Well, as far as we speak multiple languages, right? We speak English, we speak Spanish, we speak Portuguese.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had the chance to go and learn Portuguese.
You speak Portuguese?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I
That ain't easy, brother.
I was studying music, and I had to learn Portuguese to be
As
there.
you do.
Hey, there you
You
go.
know,
Brazil.
I was
if you
thinking
wanna
about
study
picking that up,
music,
but-
you got to go to Brazil, and if you're in Brazil,
Yeah.
you got to speak Portuguese.
I will tell you that speaking Spanish, which I don't, even though I grew up 8 miles north of the damn border, it is. I have done more work in apartment complexes where the folks didn't speak English, and as I'm testing the systems, you're coming out, especially in complexes where the kids don't speak, English or the kids do and the parents don't.
yeah.
And I'm having to tell an 8-year-old, look, I'm testing the alarm system. He's going back, alarm de fuego, telling the people don't freak out. The fact that you're, trilingual, really, right? I mean, is beautiful.
I also
to
speak
me.
gummy bear and
Gummy bear.
pig Latin.
Do you have kids?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So back to what you were saying with the personalized, that touch, that's more and more we're losing it, especially I feel like since 2019, everything's become so automated and it feels like all
Online,
these big
remote.
companies are just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Right?
Yes.
But you two seem like you also are a good team. Like, it's the first time I've had a couple come in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, usually it's
Yeah.
usually it's
Good to
just
know.
one or the other.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we've had a couple, so that was
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, Elvita's a big part of everything. Every time I'm like, even if I want to just dedicate some portion of what we're doing for a new tool or something like that, like, should we invest in this thing, and and she makes the calls. I mean, we talk about all that stuff.
Yeah. Even though I don't know much about the business because
As
he's
far
the
as
technician.
the technical
And
side.
yeah, but I feel like because I have dealt with other businesses in the past, I have a very good touch about things that he should and should not do.
Good.
So that helps us a lot as well.
And she's run businesses. She's run her own businesses in the past.
Oh, you
It's,
have? So you got experience doing small
yeah.
businesses yourself?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I owned a clean business before, and I also managed other businesses, so I kind of familiar with something
Yeah.
like that, but
Yeah.
not electric businesses.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah.
the basics are still there.
Yeah.
You're still got to pay
Yeah.
quarterly taxes
Which is-
and
It's helping right now.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
And half
excellent.
of it's customer service.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's
mean-
true that as far as the bilingual aspect, it's true that when you're dealing with the customer in the one language, but when you go to his store, everybody's speaking Spanish over there. Like I was
Right.
at a McDonald's earlier today, everybody there was speaking Spanish. And when I was looking for the vault that was completely filled with water, I was lucky because the person he wasn't even like a manager or anything. He was just that guy that knows where everything is and does everything. you know?
Right.
And I managed to run into him, and he didn't speak English very well. And so I was able to actually just talk with him, like ask him where the vault was, determine where it was, show him what it was. And he taught me a few of the vocabulary words, but I mean, that's the advantage of being able to speak, multiple languages. And, it just helps you, because if you have to wait till you can find somebody who speaks English and also knows the information, because they're not the ones working in the building.
No, not at all.
So it really helps with all that. And on site, working with crews that Spanish speaking crews, it's
Oh, and there are Spanish speaking folks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like and that's to me that's a business advantage. Honest to God, it just puts you right there, because now all of a sudden the person you're dealing with, if they're Hispanic, they have right there. You've got an in with them. You both speak the same language, you know, and you can.
They
and
can
it's
feel
a
comfortable.
game player. Make them feel
Communication is so
comfortable.
important.
Yeah. I have worked with in literally hundreds of places where I could not. If they couldn't speak English, I had to go find somebody who was bilingual to help me, and I you do not know how much I kick my own ass for not learning Spanish. It is I could still do it. I just, you know.
And I think more than just speaking the language, being culturally competent,
sensitive to it.
that's also another thing that he has an advantage on, because it's not only about speaking the language, but kind of getting in touch with the culture that person comes from, which he's very related to with me and the people that we relate to. Yeah,
That would make sense. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a big damn deal for me. Culture
cultural
is a
sensitivity.
huge thing
Yeah.
in with me. Like it's I if I wasn't doing this, I would like to have been an anthropologist, because I love cultures and how they work and the you know,
Norms of different.
yeah, and I grew up in San Diego. I grew up in Southern California, and
Surfer?
if you, Oceanside and El Cajon. So all of that, you know, if you know, you had every culture, you know, from Samoan to Mexican to, you know, African American to, I mean, it just, everybody was there, especially around the Marine Corps. I mean, that was like, you know, because I grew up just south of Camp Pendleton.
Yeah, the military is kind of a great sort of equalizer, isn't it?
Once you go in
yeah.
and
Or
you
a
spend
melting
9 years
pot.
in the
Yeah,
Navy,
it really is.
Yeah, the guy who's going to pull you out of that crap hole you're in, you don't give a damn what he speaks. You don't give a damn what color his skin is,
You're glad he
or
showed
her.
up.
You're just glad he's helping you get through it. And honest to God, the teamwork and the camaraderie, I've never seen anything like it was in the military. It was incredible. We didn't give two shits what anybody was like. All we cared about was you do your job, didn't fall asleep at watch, and you know, when there's a fire, we'll get you through. Honest to God. Would you agree with that, since you spent as
completely.
many years in it as I
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Were you
Yeah.
in the military as well?
Yeah. Yep. CBs.
He was in a CB, so he was in the construction battalion of
Or
the
of
Navy.
the Navy.
Of the Navy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was a fleet guy. I was out banging my head off of stuff on a ship.
Getting your
so-
brains fried by radio waves.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think that could have been what did it. But, yeah, good. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming in tonight.
Thanks so much for taking the time to introduce us to the world. And
Absolutely.
it was the first podcast of the year, and you called us out. You're like,
Yes,
I got Dakota, we got Kieran out there. Like, shit, okay, I'm gonna. Okay, all right, now it's
I'm
time.
like that.
It's time. Well, we want to be able to present something, and when you're getting started, you don't necessarily know what you have to present and what to offer. So,
but now you do. How can people get a hold of Half Watt Electric if they want it? How do they get a hold of you if they want to hire you or talk to you?
well, halfwattelectric@gmail, halfwattelectric@gmail.com.
Okay,
Pretty straight. We're working on our website, which is going to be up within a couple of weeks.
Nice.
perfect.
And
Facebook.
yeah, Facebook. You
Facebook.
can find us on there.
You can call me since everybody's got my number.
Seems like.
Love of God.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it seems like it. I don't know.
Everybody
Not
has-
you.
Oh, it was good.
Everybody has my number. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't heard from this person in like 4 years. You know, I had one call me up the other day. And
Well,
he
you're
said,
you're an encyclopedia, so people need to like address knowledge inside your brain.
I'm in
Right.
front of a duck detector and it won't do this. Put the cover on.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Thanks.
Yeah, that alone, knowing about the tamper is. Well, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And please consider coming back. And,
Yeah.
and especially as you get more and more successful,
Absolutely.
I really and bring your lovely wife.
That's me knocking wood.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Well,
having
thank you
us.
so much.
Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.